So show of hands, did anyone have an emotional reaction to that? Anybody feel chills or goosebumps? If so, you may have just felt awe. The emotion we experience when we encounter vast mysteries we don't understand. This definition comes from Dacher Keltner, who is a psychologist and a researcher who studies the science of awe. In his most recent book, he shares decades of research and arrives at a really remarkable conclusion. Awe is good for your health. People who frequently experience awe are more creative, more curious, and more optimistic. They have reduced chronic stress and boosted immunity. Now, awe accomplishes this by snapping us out of our small, solitary selves and opening us up to the boundless, interconnected sweep of life. Awe is everywhere all the time. There's awe in the sky, in the garden, in the classroom. And there's awe in the gallery, the theater, and the concert hall. That's right. Arts and culture is bursting at the seams with awe. Every one of your organizations literally awe-inspiring. And if arts and culture can produce awe, and awe improves your health, then it stands to reason that organizations that illuminate their capacity to produce awe will strengthen the well-being of their audiences. Something we can all get behind. But more than that, I think strengthening audience well-being is also good for business. I mean, consider this. In the most recent National Arts Participation Survey, Creative Australia found that 1 in 3 Australians attend cultural events to improve their well-being. It's a significant increase over the last survey. That means that 1/3 of your potential audience will include well-being in their decision to engage or not engage with your organization. Well, one way to ensure that they engage with you is to create awe-inspiring experiences. And one way to entice them to choose you is with an awe-centric story. But before we can elevate awe in our organizations, we need to elevate awe in ourselves. So herein are my 3 steps to becoming an awe-centric organization. Now, step 1 requires us to examine awe in our own lives. At the start of his awe research, Dacher Keltner asked thousands of people from all walks of life this question. What is an experience of awe you have had where you encountered a vast mystery that transcends your understanding of the world? How would you answer that? Well, here's mine. 1995. I was the fundraising intern at Carnegie Hall in New York City. And one night, I scored a ticket to Mahler's Symphony No. 8, the Symphony of 1,000. In front of me was the full Cleveland Orchestra, a 100-person choir, and a 48-person boy choir. Behind and above me in the box tiers, normally reserved for ticket holders, on this night held an additional 412 choir members. The conductor walked out on stage, hit the downbeat, and 688 musicians erupted as one. Everybody in my row was in tears. And I encountered a vast mystery that transcended my understanding of the world. Now, this may have been my first awe experience at Carnegie Hall, but it was far from my last. And for the 8 years I spent there as a fundraiser, awe experiences fueled my passion for Carnegie, a passion that spilled over into my job, writing fundraising appeals, meeting with donors, and ultimately encouraging my own team to find their own passion. Awe experiences made me a better employee. To become an awe-centric organization, you have to start with a team of awe-centric humans. Now, researchers tell us that becoming an awe-centric human is actually quite simple. In one study, they asked 2 groups to walk every single day for 8 weeks. Group 1 was instructed to just walk. Group 2 was instructed to look for opportunities to experience awe during their walk. They called this the Awe Walk group. After 8 weeks, Group 1, not much different. Group 2 reported feeling less anxiety, less depression, and greater joy. To become an awe-centric human, you just have to go looking for it. Go see dance, but really focus on the athleticism of the dancers. How do they do that? Go to a concert, but more than listen, feel the music. Stand in front of a painting for 10 times longer than you normally would. Embrace awe in yourself to elevate awe at your organization. Step 2, tell an awe-centric story. So how do we signal that awe exists at our organizations? Well, here's an observation from the airline industry. I find that the stories they tell tend to be about their planes and routes, or the onboard experience, or their team, which I shorthand the fleets, the seats, or the peeps. But every so often, you'll see a story like this one. No fleets, no seats, no peeps. Instead, it evokes a feeling. The feeling of awe you will experience as a result of the flight, which I think is far more powerful than fleets or seats or peeps. More powerful because this is an awe-centric story. You can literally feel it. Now, Keltner tells us that humans experience awe in just a few specific ways. Goosebumps, gasps, tears. What is the story you can tell that people can literally feel? Well, here's an awe-centric story from the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Rather than focusing on the play or the production or the people, they share an awe feeling from an audience member. I cried, literally Niagara Falls. But my absolute favorite awe-centric story comes from the Queensland Symphony Orchestra's 2024 season campaign. No concert hall, no full orchestra, not even repertoire. As senior marketing manager Renee Jones explained, with this campaign, I wanted to capture the breathtaking landscapes of our state and pair them with the emotional landscapes they evoke. The only words in this campaign are audience reactions that are brimming with awe. Spellbinding, spine-tingling, gave me the shivers, moved me to tears. Renee tells me that this campaign is selling like crazy. 1/3 of Australians will choose to attend a cultural event to improve their well-being. What is the story you can tell? What is the feeling you can evoke to ensure that they choose you? Number 3, create an awe-inspiring experience. Now, Keltner has taken the most common awe experiences and categorized them into what he calls the 8 wonders of life. How many of these can your organization deliver, do you suppose? Well, when I asked our team to send me examples of awe that they have experienced at your organizations, they checked almost all of these off the list. One team member found the ritualistic burning of the Ogo Ogo sculpture at Mona's Dark Mofo Festival a truly spiritual experience. Another was transported by the intersection of nature and music at the Eucharia Cultural Center outside of Adelaide. Another was transfixed by the stories of life and death at Bangarra Dance Theatre. And another was moved by the stunning visual design of the giant puppets at the Perth Festival. But amazingly, Vicky Allpress-Hill, Tessitura's Digital Communications and Insights Manager, managed to experience nearly all of these in a single afternoon when she went to see a production called Morpheus by New Zealand Opera and the Pacific contemporary dance group Black Grace. Now, Morpheus is a retelling of Christoph Gluck's 18th century opera Orfeo, based on the Greek tragedy, infused with Pacifica ceremonies and traditions through dance, and featuring amazing visual design. Vicky was transfixed by this production, but her awe was not contained just to what happened on stage. In fact, her awe began before the curtain even went up, as she saw people streaming into the theater. Now, Vicky is a frequent opera goer, and she knows what a traditional opera audience looks like. This was not that. On this day, Vicky saw a variety of faces and fashions and ages that represented the wide diversity of her home city of Auckland. Together, New Zealand Opera and Black Grace had created a production so compelling and authentic that everyone felt welcome. And Vicky was grateful for these organizations as they work to change the face of opera audiences in Auckland. In fact, more than gratitude, Vicky felt a special kind of awe known as moral beauty. The awe we experience when moved by purity and goodness of intent and action. Now, Keltner has found that moral beauty is the most common form of awe that we experience, which I find a little poignant because moral beauty isn't always sunny or uplifting or even positive. I mean, a big part of the moral beauty that Vicky felt on that day was the reality that audiences like this for opera are still pretty rare. I mean, so often, arts and culture creates awe with these big, joyous gestures. But just as importantly, arts and culture can create space for us to experience awe in these more challenging and tender ways. Now, at the end of the production, the whole audience exploded as one with cheers and applause, and Vicky felt herself swept up in the awe known as collective effervescence. And then finally, for Vicky, Morpheus spawned the awe of epiphany. In her own words, after a glum winter in Auckland, I went home with a sense of hope and recommitment to my life's work in the arts and to the unique city that I call home. Now, by my count, Vicky experienced 7 out of the 8 wonders of life in a single afternoon. How did that happen? Well, let's go back to our 3 steps. First, I happen to know that Vicky is an awe-centric human, as evidenced by the frequent awe walks that she takes and posts about on social media. Vicky walked into that theater ready to experience awe. Number 2, Vicky was compelled to buy that ticket thanks to an awe-centric story, told not by the producing organizations, but by her friend, a school teacher, who took her class to a dress rehearsal of Morpheus and subsequently posted this on Facebook. The kids saw themselves on stage. Moral beauty. They gasped, all reaction, laughed, shushed each other when excitement got a bit much during the performance. Collective effervescence. The day after this was posted, the entire run had sold out. And number 3, create an awe-inspiring experience. Black Grace and the New Zealand Opera created a truly awe-inspiring experience for all Aucklanders. And there you have it, the 3 steps to becoming an awe-centric organization. In a world that is constantly tempting us to be contained and anxious, awe cracks us open, joins us together, and reminds us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. As arts and culture organizations, you have the power to be the givers of the goosebumps, the architects of awe. And through that awe, the power to strengthen the well-being and happiness of your audiences and communities. So please, go and do that. Go be awesome. Thank you.